Excited that I got my my CPU down. So NVIDIA has a special encoder just if you use an NVIDIA chip in your graphics card, which of course like 100% of graphics cards use NVIDIA's now, like most of them. So I downloaded it, got it working, and it uses your video card to encode instead of your CPU.
Nice.
And so yeah, my CPU right now, while I'm streaming, while greening out a green screen, which is not greening out very well, I'm running 6.8% instead of the 80% it was running. So no more
that's
lag.
Really good. Yeah. Oh, or overheating.
Or yeah, that too. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, wow, dang, we already have people in here. What's up, guys? Yeah, we're gonna talk about the faction rally. A lot of stuff to talk about. Don't make fun of my light level, guys. I don't pay attention. If you're above 320, you're fine. Freaking making fun of me because I'm only 332, Jay-Z. You gotta defend me, man.
Anything above 300 is fine, actually. To be honest, until they release the prestige of the new raid.
Soon, hopefully. We'll talk about that. Actually, that is something I want to talk about today, just like speculation and stuff. If you're new around here, I kind of sometimes do an introduction. Sometimes I don't because it's boring doing introductions. This is something called the Last Word Podcast. This is episode 48. We're nearing up on that 50, which makes me think I've wasted way too much time doing this, but it's all right. So it's a weekly podcast we do, talking about stuff going on in Destiny and in the video game world in general, sometimes when there's important stuff. Joined as always by my co-host, JC Basketball.
How's it going?
Boom. And so yeah, today we have a couple of things I wanted to hit on. First off, last week whenever we got the huge update, the State of Destiny, the second one, Jay-Z wasn't present. It was just me talking to you guys. So in this one, I want to kind of bounce some of the most important stuff off of him, see what he feels about it, as well as we've gotten a lot of clarification from like Christopher Barrett and a couple other devs and stuff. So I want to read some of their tweets and stuff, and pretty much just talk about like what I'm personally most excited for. And of course, the main discussion I think for this one is going to be the faction rally and why I personally think that everyone's blowing it way out of proportion. I think Jay-Z's a little bit more on the fence than I am, but you know, we're going to talk about it. So first off, I wanted to start off today. I noticed a couple of days ago that Reddit was kind of freaking out, sort of, because Bungie has a new job positioning open for a new community manager. And so a lot of people are like, well, someone's quitting, blah, blah, blah. And I honestly don't think that's what it is. Tell me if you agree with this, Jay-Z, but I think one of the main problems with Bungie, or one of the main complaints against Bungie recently, has been that they don't communicate effectively. So I think if they hire a new community manager specifically for the purpose of like communicating like on Twitter or something, or you know, like if they see a problem on Reddit, they go to someone who knows. So let's say there's a question for Christopher Barrett, and person X who gets hired, it's literally his job to go to Christopher Barrett, get an answer to that question, and let people know on Twitter. And so I think that's what they're gonna go for personally. That if I was a company taking heat for not communicating effectively, that's what I would do, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So what do you think, Jay-Z? Do you think that someone got sick of being just constantly bashed with social media criticisms, or does it make sense to you that they're filling another slot that's needed?
I actually think you hit the nail right on the head. That's been my biggest complaint, and not necessarily like I can figure a lot of things out from Bungie on my own, you know, being a fan of them over the years, but like I think that they need to communicate better. Especially, we're going to talk about this later with the faction rallies. Everything that's going down, all the stuff that they changed with everything, all the stuff that they're going to change in better detail. Like, I love how they, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, how, you know, all the changes that are coming on the horizon. But I think it's a good move, especially if it's going to be more on the communication side, more on the letting us know before it happens. And not just like the major changes, but little things that everyday players care about. So yeah.
Right. And I think while it's important that they make these decisions, I think we can go ahead and jump into the faction rally discussion because this kind of ties into it. But how people were kind of pissed off that there were no new weapons in the loot pool, and immediately DMG over on the Bungie forums was like, hey, this is what's going on. I think if we had a person dedicated to that spot. So I think like Cosmo is responsible for a lot of the This Week at Bungie's and stuff, Bungie blogs. I think that's like Cosmo's thing. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Cosmo was actually supposed to lead the streams before Curse of Osiris, but then his wife ended up going into labor, so Deej took back over. But Deej is like communications director or something now. He's not even technically community manager from what I've read. So I think so. You have DMG for the forums, you have Cosmo for the main like updates and stuff, and then I think they're probably going to get someone to monitor like Reddit and Twitter and that kind of stuff. That would make sense to me, or just overall general everywhere. But sort of leading into that, so the faction rally, if you guys don't know what's going on, effectively what they're doing with the faction rally is every new faction, or every faction with the Curse of Osiris has 5 new weapons. And with this faction rally, there's only one brand new weapon, and it's only available if your faction wins. So you have all 3 auto rifles. Dead Orbit, in my opinion, is by far the best. Pretty much it's like a general consensus. But the only way you will get anything for like the next month is if that faction wins. Now, apart from that, they're planning on having 2 more faction rallies. Every subsequent one, they're going to have a brand new winner one. The previous winners will have theirs added to the loot pool, or even if you lost, the previous winners' offerings will be added. So next faction rally, all 3 of these will be in the loot pool. There will be 3 new ones that you can get by winning, and then there will also be 1 additional brand new weapon. And then the third faction rally, the same exact thing will happen with that. So there's 5 total weapons. And people were kind of freaking out about that. And I want to hear Jay-Z's initial reaction to it. And then I'll say why I think this was actually a good move if they did have to spread it out. So Jay-Z, what do you think about this?
So as far as the weapons goes, I like the idea of them, like, because you don't want... That's the thing, is everybody wants everything at once, and then when you get everything, then you're like, oh, there's nothing for me to earn. So I'm okay with that. It was more the tokens thing, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about later, that had me a little bothered on that end. But yeah, I don't mind, especially I like what they did and I hope they do that each one, where they have a specific weapon for all 3 and it's the same weapon. Because before it was like Dead Orbit would have a sidearm, and New Monarchy would have a scout rifle, and I can't remember what the other one, Future War Call had.
Yeah, Pulse, I believe.
Yeah, Pulse rifle, and I wanted that Pulse rifle. But like, if all 3 had Pulse rifles, and you're like, oh, I like this Pulse rifle better, then, right? But I think this time it's for people are liking the armor set better, and that's why it's going a certain way as we speak.
Yeah, at the current point, New Monarchy almost has the complete amount of Future War Call and Dead Orbit put together. New Monarchy is most certainly winning this time. So,
but
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, like, I'm okay with the slow release, like, not the slow release, but them like having, like, do you like the whole like weapon, like one weapon, say like auto rifles are this time and pulse rifles would be next time?
Yeah, so the reason I like that, so there's obviously an odd number of weapons, so 5. Mm-hmm. So there has to be one that is the odd one out, and I think that it's really smart to make it the first one, because this first faction rally, people will also be grinding for the new ornaments and stuff. You got to think, that's season specific. So if we're getting 2 new faction rallies, or 2 more faction rallies in season 2, we're not getting new armor with those. We have the same ornaments that we have now, and a lot of people will have grinded out this season for those, so they won't have to grind as much, because, they did all their work this faction rally, excuse me. So that kind of makes sense. So this time, they have 1 weapon to shoot for, but the main focus is really, unlocking all this armor, the ships or the spares as well, the consensus sidearm if you really want it, that type of stuff. It's all focused on the armor. And then the subsequent ones, since you will probably already have the armor, then they switch the focus over to the other weapons, thus restoring the balance since there is an odd number of, only 5. I actually think it was a really smart move. I don't think when people are raging on like Reddit or something, I don't think they think about it like that much. But from a pure like statistical or analytical standpoint, it actually makes a lot of sense. to me. So I appreciate the move. Of course, you could argue, like, why didn't they just make one more weapon per faction? Especially since, you know, they're all reskins anyways. Probably would take relatively minimal effort or something. That's an argument that could be made. You know, I'm not a development team. In my eyes, I think they were pressed for development time, especially with all of these. You know, you got to think, this stuff was probably getting created around the same time that Masterwork weapons were being worked on, other improvements to the game, Curse of Osiris in general. So I'm sure they were pretty stretched for development in general. So I don't know if like 5 was the limit, or if they just said like, you know, 5 is a pretty good number, especially since they'll have to grind for the weapon or the armor that first week. Either way, I understand it. I get why people are mad, but I don't like, I feel like people always blow things way out of proportion. I think this is largely attributed to different magazines that like to cover Destiny 2. I think, let's just go with Forbes. They're an easy target. I think Forbes has seen the ad revenue that they get through these articles, right? It's a lot of the bigger YouTubers are doing this too. And so anytime anything happens with Destiny 2, they're like, Destiny 2 is hot. Let's just make this seem worse than it is. And then, you know, mob mentality kicks in. You know, there's been psychological studies. You do insane things when you're part of a mob that you would never do as a solo player. And obviously, you know, not everyone's sending death threats to developers and stuff, but this is stuff happening, and I think it's all linked. I think people are blowing it way out of proportion, and if people just take a second to think about it, it's really not that bad, you know? But that's my...
No, I agree with you on that aspect. I think what most people are upset at is the lockouts on some of the activities, things like that.
Yeah, well, that's another thing I wanted to talk on.
Okay.
I think that was very similar to the Prometheus lens. It actually was very similar to Prometheus lens, where they saw that it was a problem, and so instead of, you know, letting people do it until they got it fixed, they just smacked it down way too far, and then they came back and rebalanced it. Also on that topic, Prometheus lens will be rebalanced in the January 30th update, so just a little cliff note there. But I think it was one of those things. Honestly, I don't think it was really necessary. I mean, all they did was slow progression. I get it. Like, from a developer standpoint, you know, you work on all these things. You get the code. You get, you know, you have so many aspects of the games that are awesome. You obviously don't want a player running back and forth in a 2-meter space for 4 hours. Like, that's not very good in terms of fun or whatever. But I don't think it was handled the right way. But that being said, I cannot personally say how I would have handled it, because I don't know.
Yeah.
If I was in that thing, I honestly probably would have... you know, at this point, we've had 3 major faction rallies, and for each one of them... No, there's been 2 faction rallies, excuse me, right? Yeah, 2 faction rallies, and for each one of them, there's been a major token exploit. So no matter how you fix it, people are already going to be used to earning 600 tokens an hour, 400 tokens an hour, and now you're throttling it down to like 100. So no matter how you fix it, people are going to get pissed off. So there's not really a good way to fix this in order to save face, you know? You can return it to how it was originally supposed to be, sort of like where we are now, but it's going to feel much slower, and people are going to think you changed this something when, you know, all you did was fix a bug or an exploit. So... it's a hard place to be. I totally get it. I'm not a big fan of the lockouts on, like, if you do the lockout of the lost sector, then you're locked out. It's like locking out public events and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that was unintended. It might... Yeah. That's why, if anyone's watching, like, the footage in the background, what we're doing public event, lost sector, public event, lost sector, because that gives you enough time to reset it. And, you know, there's still farming methods. But I totally get what you're saying. I think that's just an unintended side effect. But it's like, it's got to be so hard, man. I do not envy their positions at all. You know? Like, having to make that decision, while it seems relatively unimportant when you have just 500,000 people on one Destiny subreddit and they're just ready to throw pitchforks at you, like, no decision can be taken lightly, you know?
Yeah. Well, and we talked about it a little bit this afternoon. Like, my whole biggest thing, like, I didn't care about any of this stuff because it's not a huge deal to me. regardless, because I'm not gonna put the time in to grind out everything this faction rally. Like I'll probably in later ones grind it out. My biggest thing is I don't like that more people are getting ticked off at the game, because I want people to enjoy the game and play the game, and I want it to be the best it can be. So like that's more what I'm worried about with this whole thing.
I definitely agree with that, but I think for where we are right now, you got to think like all these changes that they're having to make, the stuff we're going to talk about, everything that we've essentially been discussing with Bungie for the past however long, that's like stuff they didn't account for in their development cycle. Like that's stuff that they have to put extra people on and take time away from other development. So it's not like I totally get what you're saying. I totally agree. I want as many people playing the game at once as possible. I mean, it's just fun, It makes it more fun as a community. It leads to better things. When the morale is high, everything is just better. It honestly just is. And I totally get it. But I just think this was like a lose-lose situation. There's not... I don't... Like, faction rallies in general are kind of low content emphasis, I guess. It's sort of like how at the end of Destiny 2... Or, excuse me, at the end of Destiny 1... I didn't really play Iron Banner anymore. No one really played Iron Banner anymore. It was a monthly thing. It was fun to do. There's nothing to grind for. I think faction rallies are very similar in design to that. They're not built to be DLCs. They have a couple items to earn. I honestly think that we're lucky we got as much as we did. I'm not trying to justify anything. But if you would have asked me last year during Iron Banner at a time like this, and you told me that a seasonal event got new ornaments every 3 months, I would have been like, you're out of your damn mind. There's no way. It turns out I would have been wrong. And like I said, now that we've been spoiled, it's easy to say, oh, we should have more. But when they're making all these changes, like in literally a week and 3 days, we're going to have a lot of content that was originally not planned for the game. That's a pretty big step. I don't think, and I get the argument, it should have been there in the first place, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't. Everyone makes mistakes. They were obviously taking Destiny 2 in a way that, in a different direction, and to appeal to a larger audience. And I think it's pretty clear at this point that the audience that they were appealing to was the wrong audience. It wasn't like it's not going to... I feel like more the casual players that they were going for is the type of players that will bounce between different games more frequently, is not the type of audience that you need to be focusing on for Destiny. So I think from this point out, I would never expect them to make another casual-oriented decision, at least not a huge one, ever again. I think, especially with some of the stuff that Christopher Barrett said and Luke Smith has said over the past 2 months or whatever, especially with the Bungie podcast that launched... month and a half ago, 2 months ago now, a while ago, I think it's very apparent that they know that they need to switch all focus over to the hardcore player, and I think that is something we can expect in the future.
But that's something we both talked about prior to that podcast of them releasing that podcast.
Yeah, like I believe we hit on that before Destiny 2 ever launched. In fact,
that's the thing, like your casual player, regardless of how much they enjoy a game or not, are going to play it for up to maybe a month, and maybe not even that, and then they're going to move on to another game and then come back for the DLC, play that for a couple weeks, and then move on, and that's a cycle every time.
Right.
And, we have people on our friends list that do the same thing, that we get a couple weeks of rating with them and then we don't see them again until the next DLC. So so that's understandable, but catering to that crowd is not going to get you, like, it is not going to help the game grow, I think, in my opinion. So
absolutely,
they're learning that. So
I do want to address someone in chat, and this is the type of person, excuse me. This is the type of comment that I've really wanted to talk about, and I think this is a great example. Templeton Amor, I'm not picking on you, I'm just using you as an example. His quote, or his comment was, "Do you feel that they became victims of their own ignorance and hiding in their own echo chamber?" I like the reference there. Overpitching DLC that underdelivers. So I'm gonna address these one by one in my opinion. Then Jay-Z, we can go through yours as well. Not telling the community that they doubled the experience earn rate, and not to mention the issue about token throttling. So overpitching a DLC that underdelivers, I don't think they overhyped Curse of Osiris, and it's, if anything, we should have been expecting a House of Wolves Crota's End, or the Dark Below sized expansion, and in my opinion, the Curse of Osiris is well above that. We got more strikes than either of those gave. We got a way larger story. I believe it had double the story missions of Crota. Now, while it did not have the secret exotic quests of like the Necrochasm or whatever, its raid is significantly more well-designed and replayable than Prison of Elders. I think that was a misunderstanding. I think people were expecting a Taken King or a Rise of Iron, when it was very clear with the development cycle that they had and the price that we were paying for the DLC that that's not what we were getting. So I don't think they overhyped it at all. I think, to my knowledge, we got everything that they promised and more. The Infinite Forest thing was a little bit unfortunate, but to be fair, they never claimed it was going to be anything else. You know, that was just kind of us assuming things.
Yeah, like, compared to Crota's End, that's the thing, is I wasn't disappointed in Destiny 1 at Crota's End. I enjoyed it for what it was, and, you know, 4 months later, 5 months later, the next DLC was out, so it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
This added a lot more stuff than Crota's End, and like, you know, a better raid layer than Crota. Like, I didn't really enjoy Crota. I know you did immensely, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, this was a way better last boss and a way better experience.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you got to think, back during Crota, the seasonal event system didn't exist yet. You know, there was no Dawning, there was no Festival of the Lost. So not only are we getting a larger DLC, we're getting free content intermittently between DLCs that no one ever complained about in Destiny 1. It's one of those things, like, I don't want to call it like entitlement, but I feel like people don't quite understand, or I feel like some people aren't willing to understand the development cycle, rather. And I think it's very important to keep that in mind. Like, we are getting so much more content than we got in, like, the entirety of Destiny 1, minus Age of Triumph. And I think that's the main problem, is coming from where you have this amazing expansive universe down to this. Like, comparatively, we are getting so much content now, but just because we kind of, like, jumped off a cliff, sort of, and landed on a smaller cliff going into Destiny 2 in terms of content, I think people are feeling a little bit cheated, when in reality, we're actually getting, like, a crap ton of content. Anyways, to go on, not telling the community that they doubled the XP earn rates, I do believe that in the post correcting the experience throttling, they did say that they increased the amount that it would take to level up. So they did tell us that. They did not say specific numbers, which is something that they are beginning to work on. We've seen hints of them doing that, especially with people like Christopher Barrett and... let me look at my cheat sheet real quick. I always forget his name. Oh my goodness, where's my notepad? Josh Hamrick back at the wheel, you know, talking. I believe we're going to get a lot of... that was the thing. I don't think that was any sort of deceit or lying going on. I just think, you know, they said, oh, we're increasing it. And it's one of those things, like, they should have told us, but was it really clear to them that they should have told us? Because... I can see where they might not think so. But I think in the future they're going to tell us all that stuff. But I wouldn't call that a lie or being deceitful. And then the very last one, not to mention the issue about token throttling, like we just discussed, I think that was a knee-jerk reaction. And I couldn't have done it any better. If anyone has any idea on how to better balance that, let me know. Because... Well,
I think it's maybe a good idea, but, like, they should have tested it on public events and stuff, and they should have given you a timer, like
yes,
most RPGs do.
Give us a debuff timer. Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. See, that's something, and once again, you know, that would take, like, API to UI development and stuff, and I get that there's a workload to it, but I also 100% agree. Like, at the very least, show us in our inventory screen. I completely agree with that. That's a good one. Yeah. I mean, that's... I don't think Bungie... It's because if you think about it, okay, Bungie... I've been playing Destiny for 4 years. I'm trying to figure out how to appropriately go at this. I have been part of the Destiny franchise for 4 years, and I have no reason that Bungie would ever blatantly lie to us, or no reason to believe that. And if you think about it from a consumer standpoint, it makes no damn sense for them to do that. Like, it's not... I don't know. I feel like people, once again, want Bungie to be the bad guys for some reason, and they're like, they make mistakes. They've made a lot of mistakes. But to be fair, everything that's happened to Destiny 2, it's very easy to see how this was just an unfortunate sequence of events. One thing led into another. Everything that someone's unhappy about leads into the next thing that someone's unhappy about. It's not like all these instances are completely separate, because they're not. I mean, it's very clear that they're all factors of the audience that they were appealing to, the limited development time, you know, the trading off of the teams. You got to think, like, Luke Smith had been working on Destiny 2 for two and a half years, and then you had a team that was working on Destiny 1 for those times. So you got to think that transition was pretty difficult. They had to learn a completely new engine, how to code on newer generation consoles, and all this kind of stuff. Of course, that's an assumption. I actually don't know how difficult it is, but I assume it's a little bit more difficult than most people would believe. But I just feel like people are too eager for Bungie to be a bad guy, and yes, they make mistakes, but it does not make any sense for them to like blatantly screw us. It just, from a business standpoint, when has that ever worked for any corporation ever? It doesn't. Like, I'm sure someone could find some example, but it just typically it does not work. So I think just we need to calm down with the calling Bungie liars. I think stuff gets miscommunicated a lot. I think this new what's the job hiring that we're talking about? What was Deej? What is Cosmo?
Manager.
Community manager. Thank you. I think the new community manager, if it's going to be anything, is going to be addressing this right here. This is very important. Communication is, and I think that would get rid of anything else. And I think
I also think that they're not used to, like, I hate to say that, they've made so many good games, and they're not used to having as much backlash for their Bungie made games.
Well, you gotta think Destiny 2 is so much more like innovative and I almost want to say aggressive than Destiny 1. Like Destiny 1, they didn't really know what it was. Destiny 2, they had a clear vision of what they wanted this to be. You can tell it's got elements of the type of game they want it to be. And while that might not be what we want it to be for the most part, and they're trying to convert over to that, maybe what we want Destiny 2 to be isn't what they meant for it to be originally, you know?
Yeah, possibly.
So, and obviously they're going over, they're trying to appease us. They're making stuff, and I get, you know, I'm angry. It's not like I'm not trying to be the guy that's like sucking Bungie's toe, you know. I get it. They've made mistakes. I will completely admit that. I have no problem with it. But I just like, you gotta. I couldn't do any better. So I'm looking at it like that, and it's not like I mean, this isn't Battlefront 2. I think you would
do better with communication, though, like because like
that's fair.
Because like you got to think of it this way: a lot of people are married to the game, and what breaks up relationships or marriages? Communication or lack of. So like that. Hopefully, this is a step with the community manager to get that communication right for the fan, for the game, you know, for the people that love the product and want it to succeed. And going forward, this will help them not only have come to in a better light to the consumer or to us that want it to be good, but also bring them back in good standings. Like
exactly,
that's what we want. That's what we all want.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like to that point, if Bungie wanted to screw us over and be mad at us, they sure as hell would not be wasting money and development time on making things like Masterwork weapons and armor that literally everyone gets for free. Like it's very clear that all of them want it to be a good game. So whenever I see these like witch hunts on Reddit, that's like fire so and so, fire so and so, that's just not okay. You know, like that's just not okay. You can't be asking for someone to be fired because they have a different viewpoint on what a game should do than you. That doesn't. That's pretty low, in my opinion.
Well, that and like, would you like them to come to your job and? Because you don't do something perfect.
Yeah, like, you know. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. Like, no matter what you do, right? If you know, there's doctors that make mistakes, and that aren't held accountable. There's people, like, how many times have you gone to freaking McDonald's and got the wrong thing? Like, you're not calling for those people to be fired. Mistakes happen, and obviously it's on a different scale with different amounts of money. But they had a view, what they wanted to do with the game, and it just so happens that it's not the best direction in a lot of people's opinions, and I don't think that makes them any that doesn't make Bungie the bad guy. If anything, going for innovation, being creative, being adventurous, they should kind of be applauded for that, you know? Like, so many times, like, if you look at Call of Duty, how many leaps and bounds has that franchise taken in the past century, you know? Like, they found a formula that works, so they're sticking with it. And that's just not... I don't think that's as admirable as going outside the box, trying to make new changes, trying to be a leader of your field or something. So while it might not have been the right changes, you know, you live and you learn. And I would not expect any mistakes like this ever again in the future. And I really hope these tabloid, like, places like Forbes and all these places that are just riding Bungie's heat to make crazy tons of money on AdSense, I hope that it comes back to bite them in the ass sometime soon, because that's not okay. You should not be able to build an audience on overhyping negativity.
I mean, if it gets clicks though, like it's the most popular thing, you're gonna...
I get it. It just, man, it goes back to that thing. We've had this discussion before. I hate how inherently humans are more drawn to negative things than positive things. Like, that's such a terrible aspect of us. But
it's a celebrity gossip column of gaming, basically, is what it is.
But it's just like, whenever I see a YouTuber say, like, the Destiny community is so toxic. No, your Destiny community is so toxic because you make negative videos, and that's the audience you attract. You deserve everything you're getting. So I'll stand by that. You know, it's not that... of course, everyone deserves a second chance. If Forbes came out tomorrow, like, I think Kotaku just released an apology article to Bungie. Like, that's awesome. Keep doing that. You know, maybe don't make more than one apology article. That'd be kind of weird. But it's like, no one should try to profit on the failures of other corporations, I guess. Like, that seems kind of low to me. I don't know. Moving on, next one, Savage Sadist. I don't care about all the Destiny drama. Amen to that. All I want is randomized rolls. Oh, Jay-Z. Better raid items. We get that. We get that in a week and 3 days. And a real reason to farm. We are working on that. That's more of the February 14th update. But yeah, man. Absolutely. So I guess that's a pretty good segue into what I want to talk about with you, Jay-Z. All the important stuff coming. So January 30th, excuse me. We get the raid stuff. And I'm going to be trying to do all 6 raids that day. Trying to get that new Ghost Shell just to see what it does. Try to get as much armor as possible. One thing I'm a little bit worried about is, like, am I going to have to redo Prestige mode and get a new set of Prestige armor for every character for that mod? Like, I don't want to do that. There's nothing in the world that makes that worth it, you know?
I would say that's probably a no. I don't think, because any of the cosmetics for the faction rallies, they're not making you get new armor.
But it's not new mods though, you know?
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, because I think they'll probably just add a slot, just like they would the normal armor.
So maybe if you do the raid, you just get mods that can only go on raid armor. Yeah. That's a possibility. That'd be cool. I'm really worried that I'm gonna have to rerun the Prestige mode like 50 times, and that's just not something I do in my life, man. Or I want to do in my life right now. Especially
when Callus makes you, like, cringe thinking of doing that hard mode raid.
Jeez, for real. Oh, Tennessee fam. What's up, man? Love your videos. Where did you get that ghost shell in the background? Oh, I got it as a birthday present. That's a pretty awesome. Thank you. Let's see, man. Yeah, so the better raid stuff, the ghost shell. What kind of ghost perk would honestly make that worthwhile? Like, so what could they possibly do?
My guess is either going to be higher chance of mods dropping after an event, or higher chance of token or like extra tokens, like they do with most of their other, like, because it's not going to be anything overpowering. Or maybe the other thing that I can think of is, like, one slot's going to be more glimmer for Cabal enemies in the raid layer, and then the other slot's going to be something like more tokens or more more something of
right
dropping. Or
no, I like that. Yeah, I can't think of anything, honestly. Maybe more experience from Cabal kills. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
If we got, like, more bright engrams for doing the raid, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I'm hoping it's gonna have, like, multiple possibilities in the two or whatever, how many slots there are
well,
going to be.
I don't. Is there an exotic shell that? I guess actually, yeah. I guess all exotic shells do, right? Well, not Sagira, but yeah.
No, the one that I have on the Warlock, it was rolled to Nessus, but it could have been rolled to any planet. What is it? Guarantee generate more gunsmith telemetry on all weapon kills, and then it was increased loot in public events on all destinations, and it detects caches on Nessus. So that caches one could have been any planet.
Right. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. I think more experience would be the most rewarding. Maybe like 3 times more experience while doing a raid. I think that would be really nifty. Will that be? I think something like that would be a good gesture that they're really leaning away from milking Eververse, in my opinion. Something like that. Yeah, I'm excited to see what that is. And kind of speaking of, you know, more engrams, that kind of leads us to the next thing I want to talk about, which is honestly probably my favorite thing in the update, the changes to Eververse. And this all starts to happen on February 14th. Really starting with Crimson engrams from the Crimson Days event. You will now earn one every time you level up. You will have a chance to get one every time you complete a Crimson Doubles match. And they will be heavily weighted towards stuff in that loot pool you don't have yet. So, I mean, that's a huge step forward. That like, we went from the Dawning where you pretty much had to spend money to get everything to Crimson Days where they're making it extremely possible for you to grind all this stuff out with seemingly putting minimal time into the game. So I think that was a really good move in my opinion. I'm excited for that. Are you excited for Crimson Doubles, JC?
I don't know how much of it I'm going to play. Like maybe if you and I do it a little bit, or Ratul and I, or maybe even Josh jumps on. Like, yeah, I want to see what's in the loot pool, but yeah, I'll play a little bit of it. You know,
there's no armor sets, so all you'll have to go for are the like the new emote, which it looks like you draw like a holographic heart in the air. That would be really fun for raids.
It's just more of a collector's thing, if anything. Like
yeah, for sure.
I like having everything, so
yeah, that's why I'm gonna be doing it for sure. Like that, there's new, like you get the new Sparrow for just completing the Nightfall that week, and there's some new emotes and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that stuff I forgot to mention. Like as part of the you can get one exclusive Ghost Shell Sparrow. I can actually have it right here. I don't know why I'm trying to think. Let me see here. Let me go down to it. This is the wrong one because I'm very good at this. Yeah, anyways, I think it was one exclusive emote, Ghost Shell and Sparrow, from doing the Nightfall, Crimson Days, and something else, the raid that week, I believe. They're pretty much just handing you stuff, which is that's a great step in the right direction, like getting rewarded for actually doing stuff. What else are they doing here with Eververse? Let me see. Yeah, it's a Ghost Sparrow and ship. Or emote, excuse me. And everything, it says, will provide a gameplay path to earn bright engrams and all contained rewards, including event engrams. So it looks like you'll be able to earn a lot of the stuff through gameplay now as well. You won't have to milk, you know, freaking Eververse all the time. So, I mean, these are really good changes, in my opinion. A lot less focus on Eververse, and I hope it stays that way. And in addition, for the stuff in Eververse, they said that they are going to give a lot of people like a direct path to purchasing stuff like in Destiny 1, to take like the gambling section out of it, which is just brilliant. I really like all of this stuff.
Taking away the loot box aspect of it. Yeah,
right.
That's
I think that's smart for any company, honestly, right now, especially with like all these lawmakers trying to make it illegal and stuff. Like, get yourself out of it now so you don't have lawsuits later. Like, that's really smart. And in addition, it just makes it a better experience for everyone. So I'm a big fan of all these changes. I guess I'll like really have to wait and see how effective they are, but I can't imagine I'll be disappointed with any of this. I think it'll be all a good thing. I'll definitely be doing a bunch of Crimson Days streams to try to get all the loot as well. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of the Crimson Days stuff, Eververse stuff. I mean, it's being toned down a lot. Let's see, does anyone Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone really commented on that, so that's fine. Past that, Masterwork armor is coming also January 30th. I missed it, and it provides extra damage reduction while in your super, which is very strange. And my one problem with that is, I wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Is, you know, supers that already have damage reduction, like Stormcaller or specifically Sunbreaker, is really bad. Are they going to get the same benefit as a Golden Gun? Because that just seems a little bit crooked to me. And in addition to that, is this like, is it going to make supers like really hard to kill in Crucible? Is this only a PvE side of Destiny thing? You know, like I can definitely see this going very wrong very quickly. Of course, I believe that they'll do a whole hell ton of testing, but I'm just interested to see, like, what do you think it'll be weighted differently? Like, do you think it'll be based on the amount of damage reduction that you currently have and give lower damage reduction supers like Golden Gun more of a bonus, or what do you think?
So when I first heard that, that's what I was hoping for. Like, there's certain supers that are kind of tough to do in crowded situations without getting killed, and I was hoping that, because when I first read about the armor or heard you go over it, when I rewatched it that night, I was a little excited for it, especially for raids, because like, how many times in Destiny 2 have we died out of our supers? It's been like more than
a stupid amount.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that's a great change, especially like Golden Gun, which you're pretty weak at, like, in the super. Even like the Smash, like, we've had people on our fire teams die a ton.
Josh.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Josh gets a
Jay-Z, I don't think that'll help falling in a pit. I don't think any amount of damage reduction is gonna help you there.
But I was hoping also that, like, so in PvP, I think it's balanced pretty well with supers to where there's counters to them.
I think this will return it more to like Destiny 1, where if you had a super, like, you pretty much weren't dying. Like, do you remember like back in year 1, like, Blade Dancers could not be killed.
Yeah.
Like, so
yeah. So I don't want that though. Like, I want it to be where, because I like the balance in the rock paper scissors part of Destiny 2 on that aspect of Crucible especially. So I hope they even weight it different. Like, they give you a decent buff for PvE, but PvP is a smaller buff.
Right.
And it's weighted more on if you already have a ton of damage reduction during your super.
I have to imagine, right, that this, I mean, it could be a good thing. It could help the power fantasy. So a lot of the argument with only getting one super a game is that, you know, it doesn't feel powerful. And if you die in that super, like, you just potatoed out. Like, there's nothing you can do. So this might help that. But at the same time, we got a lot of hints that they're trying to restructure these Crucible game modes. And so I don't know, man. I agree with that. But at the same time, like, I miss being able to use Stormcaller. In Trials of Osiris, you can't use Stormcaller right now. You will die. There's no. So I don't know. Yeah.
So here's the other thing. I want, with this, I think, with the return of 6v6, they could even weight it differently with that. I just don't want to see, like, somebody team wiping every time with the super.
Right.
But I also enjoy, and here's the other thing. I want them to give us numbers. Like, this is the amount of damage reduction it's taking. Like, I wish that they would, like, I know they don't want to go full RPG on everything, but I wish they would give us numbers on how much health you have during super, how much armor you have during super, like, things like that, and then how much extra this would give us. Like, that would go a long way to show players and kind of, like, allow you to better pick supers and things like that during different game modes. So, like, you know, we all know that Golden Gun is pretty much, you know, the same health and the same armor as the Hunter is.
As the Hunter, 100 and 110 or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, give us what the buff is going to be. Give us, like, is it going to be worth it, or should I switch to another, like, the bow still, or whatever. Like, I know that's nitpicky and it's not, like, but I want the more of an RPG side to it. So, and that's something that they could do. That's a smaller aspect of it that could help us show that, hey, this is the actual stats going on behind the scenes that you don't see, but, you know, you have the chance to visually see it and see what everything's doing. So
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I want numbers for everything. I don't like, that's the thing. I just like, I feel like we should have all the numbers, but at the same time, I don't, there's some part of me that feels like that's wrong, but I don't know why. Like I almost like, I don't want to, I don't know. I guess it's probably the part of me that really enjoys doing the testing. Like, if we didn't get actual numbers and I had to go stand, like, in the Radiolorium Fluid in Nessus and do, like, pixel by pixel comparisons to find out how much health we have, like, I'm not gonna lie, that would be a great Saturday. Like, I know that's a really nerdy thing, but if I could get anywhere close, that'd be a lot of fun. But I get what you're saying. Not every player wants to do that. I totally get it.
The game that we both love, Borderlands 2. It gave us all the numbers, but you still tested stuff on it, even though you got all that. Like, they gave you exact percentages. It gave you everything. That's a
really good point.
Yeah, like, and you still had to do testing of what worked for your playstyle or what worked for you. Like, I did testing more than half the time, more than farming. So, like,
right. Okay, I agree. Yeah, I'm wrong. You're right. I agree with that. If they did it like in the tooltips like that, and it's like provides a 10% damage reduction while on your super or whatever. Yeah, you're right.
Or like, how much does each extra piece of armor stack, or does it stack, or, you know, like, because if it doesn't tell us, like, do we only need to have one piece of Masterwork armor? Does, you know, I'm sure that's not the case, but, you know, we don't know if they don't give us the numbers, so.
Right. Yeah, man. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Yeah, just real quick, I do want to give a thank you to Trendy Gamer in chat for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. He said he just started making Destiny 2 videos. Good luck, man. It's rough to get into, but don't give up. If you enjoy doing it, just keep on going. But yeah, back to what you're saying. I want the numbers. You're right. I enjoy finding the numbers, but you know, we deserve to know the numbers. Like, especially with things like the Word of Dawn, Weapons of Light in Destiny 1 versus Bow in Destiny 1. All these things, like, you're right. They need to have a number. So I agree. I completely revoke my previous statements. They were a little bit selfish because
it can't be that hard to show that. Like,
there's no way. Yeah, they just type it in, right? Yeah. We've seen them update descriptions like hella fast before. I'm sure that they could do it
because they have the numbers already in there. They know what it is. We don't.
Right.
So, yeah.
Geez, man. Yeah, I don't know. That's hard. I'm excited for that. I want you to know right now, do not get your hopes up. Because I don't think they'll show us numbers, man.
No, I'm completely not thinking that. That's why I'm hoping that they might be listening and like, hey, that's a great idea.
Hey, that's a great idea.
That's actually, 9. He came up with a great idea.
Nah, I didn't come up with it. That was you, man. That was all you.
Well, I know, but like, it's on your channel, so you know.
That's fair. Actually, I would like to say thank you to everyone who's been watching these recently. Our viewership went up from a couple hundred to a couple thousand an episode, like... Bam! Like, 1 week the last couple have gotten a couple thousand each. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying the discussions. I enjoy communicating. I know Jay-Z does as well. But yeah, man, I already have my thumbnail made for that video, so I really hope they don't. Like, how much damage reduction does Masterwork armor give you? And it's like, I'm ready to hype this video. I'm ready to make it. And like, it's just a 2-second video of me reading a description, like, of the armor piece. Oh, that was short-lived. Yeah, I agree though. We should know stuff in game. Here's a comment that I actually something I want to look at, because it's a comment I see a lot on the Reddit and stuff. I just wish that every time they put out something out, other things wouldn't be broken. Seems like every time, and I totally get that. But you got to think, like, Destiny is a huge game with so many moving parts, and I guess it's a lot more complicated to code things than I would originally have thought. So I totally get it. But if you're like, you know how many quality control testers it would take to test every aspect of the game? Like, and it's just some random stuff too. Like when the Graviton Forfeit was added to Destiny 1, and you could go into your inventory only while wearing it, only by double tapping B before you went into your inventory, only while running Tether, or triple. What's the triple one? Quiver.
Quiver.
Yeah. Only while in your super, only after firing one shot, and it made this exploit happen. Like, there's no way in hell anyone's ever going to catch that. That is a completely accidental thing that, really, if you look at the statistics, no one probably should have ever figured out. Yeah. But it's like, I get what you're saying. A lot of the stuff, you know, I assume he's talking a lot about the lockouts and stuff, and I get that, you know. That's probably something that they actually did expect to happen, something like that. I would. You got to think a lot of these loot pools are probably connected pretty closely, especially since all of them drop like the same rewards. So it makes sense. I get what you're saying. I definitely wish that too, but I totally get why it happens, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So
can I expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. So we're talking about that tough for them to balance. Like, what would you think of if they had this? You know, they have the same weapons and armor, but they had different perks in PvE and PvP. I know that's a lot of thought process in decoding it, but like, it would allow you to have the power fantasy in PvE. While still balancing PvP to, you know, not have overpowered perks and things like that.
But once again, I think that would just add another level of complication to make more screw-ups likely, though. Like, I totally can see that going wrong, too. Like, they accidentally tweak something in PvP, and then all of a sudden this weapon can do, like, 7 billion damage per second in PvE. Like, I totally see that being a thing.
Yeah, I just, like... Because I enjoy, obviously, PvE more than PvP, and... Sometimes I feel like weapon balancing is done where it's mostly done for the PvP aspect.
Right. And, well, you gotta think there's gotta be some separation already because the Prometheus lens was only broken in PvP.
In PvP, yeah.
So there's gotta be some level of something going on there that we don't know about. But I agree. In a perfect system, like if robots were coding this entire thing, I would totally agree. Like that's probably the best way to do it. With humans doing it, though, it would probably just be more of a cluster than an actual, like, convenience. At least for the initial time of it. Like I said, that's with very, very limited coding experience and game development experience. So don't take my word as gospel. I just assume that would be pretty difficult to do. And I don't know. But like I said, there's something there anyway. So I totally get what you're saying. What's the next thing? I mean, we pretty much covered the huge things. The 6v6 is going to be really cool. The ranking, private matches, all really awesome stuff.
They didn't say anything about bringing back specific game modes that you can pick, though, did they?
No, not specifically. They did not.
Yeah, because that's something I want to come back. Because I don't know. I like to, if I'm going to go into Crucible, to play a specific game, or even the weekly rotating playlist like they had before. That would be nice.
Right. Well, one thing I actually thought was really I was thinking about this the other day, and I absolutely now believe this is the direction they're going. So they're bringing back 6v6. What do you think about the possibility that maybe in year 2 they launch it where casual is only 6v6 and competitive is only 4v4? What do you think about it?
I would rather have them do the game mode thing, but
yeah,
and the other thing is,
just like a completely separate discussion about the same, about Crucible.
So I would rather have them, and that's the other thing is like map size. They created all of the maps for 4v4.
Right. I mean, even like Distant Shores is like a compressed version of Shores of Time. Yep. It's not even a one-to-one scale.
That's what are they going to add on to some of the maps? Like, just like not like something in depth, but just like a little bit extra, just to make it suit for 6v6, or are they just going to shove like they're going to shove 12 people on a small map, and that's going to be a problem too. I don't know. Like, I don't know how they're going to do it because, you know, obviously they're bringing it back. I hope they do it the right way. I just don't know what the right way is going to be because you can't unless you bring back some Destiny 1 maps and just like throw a little coat of paint on them or whatever. But I don't know how easy that is either. So
I would assume. Well, so you got to think all this is coming out with the March update, Season 3, presumably with DLC 2 as well. So maybe with DLC 2 we don't get any more 4v4 maps, but we get like 2 or 3 6v6 maps. Not too many. Maybe like 2 new ones, 2 reskins or something like that. We know that they're pretty good at making maps. I mean, one thing that I've really liked about Destiny 2, and something that they really only did once with Destiny 1, is we get just maps intermittently for no reason. Well, there's kind of a reason. So, like, we got Emperor's Respite when the raid was completed. We got Eternity for the first week of Trials of Osiris. We got Shores of Time or Distant Shores for the first Iron Banner. Like, I really enjoy that. Getting themed maps that are permanently in the pool. So I think it'd be really cool for, like, the launch of DLC 2, if, you know, we get a couple 6v6 maps, you know, obviously we're not going to have, like, 8 or anything, I don't think, unless they're all reskins. And then we get a couple of reskins. And I think people would be fine with the reskins. I haven't heard anyone complain about Distant Shores, so...
No, so I like some of the maps in D2, but as a whole, I liked... The maps that were good in Destiny 1 are better than the ones in D2, in my opinion.
Exactly. Like, my main problem with Destiny 1 maps, some of them, actually the one that they brought back, Shores of Time, was my least favorite for this exact reason. The balancing is just whack.
Yes.
They don't know how to, it seems to me, they don't know how to make, like, a symmetrical map. Like, Black Shield, perfect. You know, a little bit of diversity, still very balanced. Same thing with Pantheon, was very good. These are the maps I would want to see back. Now, that being said, there's also, like, smaller maps that, like, Burning Shrine, that aren't as balanced, or something like not Twilight Gap, Rusted Lands, not as balanced, but it still flows pretty well. It's got more of, like, a circular feel to it, which is very nice. But I like Shores of Time, of all the maps to bring back, it's like, it's really weird that they picked my least favorite one.
Especially, like, and then they added it to the loot pool for control, which it's so if you get the C flag, it's hard to lose that map.
Well, at least they moved the flag a little bit, you know, they moved it a little bit closer, yeah. Geez, man, I don't know. I think they will add 6v6 maps. See, like, I can't. Maybe a couple of the 4v4 maps. I can see, like, 6v6 working on Eternity. I can see it working on... Let's think. What's a larger map? What's the one with the man cannon with the drill?
Oh, yeah.
Midland or something?
Yeah, is that really a big map, or is it just have a lot of barriers?
I think you were mobile enough on that map that it would work its way out.
Yeah, possibly.
But, like, if you take, like, a really small map, like Altar Flame, no way in hell would 6v6 work on that map. It would, like, it's too open. Like, everyone would be dying all the time.
Especially with, like, and that's the other thing, like what I was talking about with the Masterwork armor, like 6v6 team shooting when that's the emphasis of
that would be really cool.
Yeah, but you're dead in one shot. Like, you can't even move. Like, you come around the corner and there's 5 or 6 people shooting at you.
What if they have different amount of super damage reduction in 6v6 versus 4v4?
Ooh.
That would be hard to code.
Yeah,
that's a lot to ask for, but it seems like that could work in Bungie's favor.
Yeah, well, but they're also gonna have to balance. Well, I don't know if they're going to. Like that. Like I said, like the team shooting. You walk around the corner and there's 5 people looking at you. You're dead. I mean, I guess it's kind of the same way in Destiny. Yeah. But you had a chance to at least, like, kind of do something about it.
Right.
This you're dead. Like, you walk around the corner, it's over. Right. So I don't know how they're gonna do that, but I guess we'll find out. That'll be the exciting part. We'll find out.
Alrighty then. And just to kind of, like, wrap up today's show, there are 2 very, very important tweets that I wanted to go over. One from Josh Hamrick, one from Christopher Barrett, that kind of show the direction that they want to go with Destiny 2 that make me excited, like, very excited. I'm excited for all this, but these are, like, the epitome of excitement for me. So Christopher Barrett's first. This was in clarification to the Sandbox updates that they want to do. He says on Twitter, Destiny 2 needs more weapons that matter, both in power and the hunt to acquire them. Exotics need to live up to their name. The most skillful or visceral weapons, like sniper shotguns and fusion rifles, need to return to former glory. We're on it. So I agree with all of that. We need more of a grind for weapons. Things like the Touch Malice quest. That type of stuff definitely needs to come back into the Destiny franchise. You won't hear a single argument from anyone about that. I don't think. You might. But it's one of those things, like, I agree with that. And then, especially, I think fusion rifles are like I think fusion rifles right now are the strongest they have ever been.
Yes.
Snipers, I agree though. And I don't know how to balance that. Do I think they're going to go back to the primary, secondary, heavy slot? I would put money on the fact that they're not. There are so many primary weapons in the game. If you took every kinetic weapon and you just made it a kinetic, or elemental weapon, you just made it kinetic, to make room for like a sniper slot or something, there's no way. Like that would never work.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
So what? Because then you'd have 500 primary weapons and like 2 snipers.
Yeah.
So could they do something like a No Land Beyond situation to give you an elemental sniper that isn't as powerful and gets extremely limited ammo, but is a sniper that you can use more than once a game? I can see them doing that. That might work.
More like a what was the sniper in Destiny 1 where you could never, unless you got a headshot in Crucible, it was a 3-tap. Like snipers like that.
Yeah.
To where you have to get 3 body shots to kill.
Yeah, something like, exactly like just a weaker version. I think that would be pretty cool. But there's no way in hell that they would. I believe that they would ever go back to the primary, secondary, heavy.
They put way too much design into what they've done so far. So yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, man.
But do you think they're gonna up the damage of sniper rifles? Like lower the sway? Like what do you think they're gonna do with that?
Man, look, I'm the wrong person to ask about this.
Okay.
My least favorite meta in the entirety of Destiny 1 was Taken King, where every son of a mother chicken. Look, let's say this was a hallway, Jay-Z. Watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. Bam! Sniped. You just got sniped in the head. Guess what? You ran through it again. Bam!
So,
hey, Jay-Z, you want to run back through there? Bam! Oh, you want to come up behind me? Oh, guess what? You can't because I'm in a corner. Bam! Shot in the head again.
So,
like
I was that guy sniping at the end of the
I am happy snipers are gone. I understand that's not a popular opinion, but I enjoy Destiny 2 Crucible right now more than I ever enjoyed Taking King Crucible. Now, I wanted to go back to the House of Wolves last word and shotgun meta, where, because I'm an aggressive player, I play on 20 sensitivity with control freaks. Like I'm a very fast player. These snipers, man, just it's like, and even if they body shot you, then you're out of the freaking Crucible match for half of it trying to get your health back. So, I'm the wrong person to ask about sniper balance. I think they're perfect right now. It's just I never want them to be any more powerful than they are right now.
Well, I mean, being in the heavy slot, I think that you can give them a little bit more power, especially because nobody uses a sniper other than like one member of our team as kind of like a joke in PvE activities. And PvP, they're I mean a fusion rifle or the what is it called, the grenade launcher colony are way more efficient to use right now than any sniper rifle. So
that's it. Okay, I agree with that. I think snipers, I agree with the return on investment. I think if they make larger maps for 6v6, sniper rifles will shine again because they'll be larger. Inherently, with the faster gameplay style of Destiny 2, 4v4, smaller maps, they're not going to be as good. With larger maps, they'll do a lot better. Now, one thing I do want to see in PvE sniper utility return. I don't know how they do that. Make them do more damage, I suppose. I honestly, I enjoy my Curtain Call. I enjoy my Sins of the Past. I enjoy my Merciless. But it's kind of ridiculous that in raids there's 3 viable heavy weapons, in my opinion. So that needs to be changed for sure.
Which, I mean, if you think about it, it's still more than Destiny 1 in most cases. Where it was
that's fair. But I mean, but that's just because the snipers that did the majority of damage on bosses like War Priest, they were secondaries. If you consider the amount of encounters in Destiny 1 that had a sniper or the Gallowhorn or that's actually about it. The Sleeper Simulant, those were the main thing. It would probably be about equal. But I think there needs to be more. At least in Destiny 1, you could do things like a no-end only Ward Priest. In Destiny 2, if you try to kill Argos with freaking colonies only, or I don't know, something stupid, you wouldn't put out enough damage. So
and don't nerf the top tier ones. give us a little bit more power on the other ones. Is because they always go to the tendency of nerfing the powerful thing. So
Right.
let's have some other things shine. Yeah, I mean, just because in Destiny 1, I got tired of using the Gjallarhorn because that was you had to use it if you wanted to complete most of the raids and end game activities until the what was the fusion rifle? You just said it.
Merciless.
No, not fusion rifle. The single beam fusion rifle in Destiny 1.
Oh, Sleeper Simulant.
Sleeper Simulant. Until that came along, it was Gjallarhorn ruled everything. So,
Right.
And then it was just that. So, like.
Right. Yeah.
I want to have to especially.
Oh, and Raise Lighter and Dark Drinker too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those. Yeah, I want to be able to have like a fire team of multiple talents.
Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't be able to say, does everyone have 6 rockets ready to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I want to go back to saying, does everyone have heavy synths? Or something. Well, that was a bad example, damn it. There's a whole nother discussion to be had. But I get it. Snipers need to be more powerful in PvE specifically. I like where they are in PvE. I believe in 6v6 maps, sniper rifles will be back to their former glory. I think it'll be fine. I think that's something that might work itself out. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much that discussion. And then the other tweet that I want to go over was Josh Hamrick. At the highest level, we want to make you feel more like a god as you're playing the game. I think that will influence all of our decisions, and I believe is what, if you totally condense it all down to a single statement, is what I'm hearing from the community as well. Essentially bringing the power fantasy back to Destiny 1, or Destiny 2, from Destiny 1. I get from a balancing aspect, it's not good to have a Gjallarhorn in the game. It's not good to have a Celestial Nighthawk in the game, even though that is in the game, but you know what I'm saying. It's not good to have these things that rule it, but to an extent, and this kind of contradicts what we were just talking about, but to a point, we should feel very powerful. And I think if they did a better job spreading that out, you know, there shouldn't be 1 Gjallarhorn, there should be 10 Gjallarhorns. If they did a better job spreading that out, I think it would result a lot better in a better gameplay experience. The only problem then is if you have 10 Gjallarhorns, what makes any of them special against each other? So I totally get the struggle they have in the development aspect. But honestly, it's something that needs to be done, something that needs to be looked at. And I like the they want us to feel more like a god. You know, in Destiny 2 or in Destiny 1 doing a heroic raid, I never felt as helpless as I do in like the Baths encounter. Like, there's I have never before in a raid, like, turned around and just straight ran the opposite direction from my objective.
Yeah, like, you kind of have to. But yeah. I like how you brought up the Celestial Nighthawk, because right now in endgame, just, like, that is the hunter class to pick.
That's it. Like, if you take that off, your team's going to struggle doing DPS.
Ask me how I know. So that's a little joke for people that haven't been in here. I was like one of the last people to get Celestial Nighthawk.
Jay-Z was quite literally the last person in the Destiny database to get the Celestial Nighthawk. He had to wait till
my hunter loved his lucky pants. Loved them. He got 16 pairs of them. It must have known that I like to, you know, fashion, you know, that type of thing. But like, don't make the bow more powerful. Make it more viable for.
I actually like the if they made a an exotic that made it so the one Mobius Quiver, the perk, makes you do more damage to an enemy when they're already tethered. So you make a perk that does something to make that more effective, and you have yourself an alternative to Golden Gun Celestial Nighthawk.
Yeah, because I mean, for like public events and stuff, I normally run the tether.
But that's the opposite tree though. That's also with the.
Yeah, correct. So.
Yeah, like, I get what you're saying. I agree that there needs to be, like, I need a reason to run some other exotic than the Celestial Nighthawk. The only reason I ever take it off is for Crucible.
Especially, like, they have all these exotic, like, normally the Hunter exotics are the best ones. They were mostly in Destiny 1, Titan and Hunter. So, like...
Warlock, always getting boned.
Yeah, I think they're better in Destiny 2 than they were in Destiny 1 as far as...
Yeah, the exotics, not the freaking movement, dude. I swear. I forget... That's a discussion for another video.
Yes,
sorry.
But no, that's fine. I go off on tangents as well. But like, I want to be able to use something else in the Hunter. Like, now that I finally have the Celestial Nighthawk, it's great and I can do the DPS. But like,
Yeah.
if you don't have it, your DPS suffers big time on boss damage.
Tell you what, man, they bring back the Bones of AO.
Mhm.
I will be running 2 exotics, but I will no longer always be running the Celestial Nighthawk. I will only be running it in boss activities. It's like, but that's it. Once again, should they crutch on exotics from Destiny 1? Should I think they need to create something new with the power of fantasy.
I completely agree. And but that's the thing, is you're crutching one exotic right now in raids or high end activities. So and you're at a disadvantage if you don't have it. It was almost like I was missing the Gallahorn from Destiny 1 when I did it.
Yeah, it was like every time we went into a raid with your hunter, we're like, all right, who else is on their hunter? Who's a usable hunter in this lobby?
I've got the bow though, you know, that was the whole argument. But like, yeah, it was true though, and that wasn't a good thing though, and hopefully they find some way to remedy that.
Right. I'm sure they will. I've got a lot of confidence in this team, especially Josh Hamrick said he's going to start being much more vocal. Christopher Bear has already shown us that he's being more vocal. I think that they're gonna from here on out, it'll be a lot more give and take, you know, discussion wise, which is always an amazing thing. So as I say every week, guys, before you go making a Reddit post trashing Bungie, before you go doing something irrational like deleting Destiny 2 or something, you know, go do something. You know, work out, take a jog, do some homework, and then think like rationally about it. You know, calm down, because you don't think rationally when you're a little bit angry or pissed off. And then come back and be like, you know what, I get why they did this. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I think that's a very important aspect to not only like this, but life in general. Is, you know, there's a reason behind pretty much everything. And if you can get to that, it'll help you understand different situations and arguments a little bit more and make your opinions a little bit stronger because of it. And that's like the main reason I love discussions and the main reason I wanted to start doing this in the first place. So I think it's very important to not throw pitchforks, but to be like, yo, why did you do this? It doesn't really make sense. And there's some things that they do that just boggles my mind sometimes. I'll give you that. But a lot of the times you can get to like a core reason, and it's actually not as crazy as it might sound. So
yeah, but it's also like we always preach, both of us. We have the same mindset of, if you're gonna criticize something, make it constructive. Like, give some positives with the negatives, or give some reasons why how they could change it. Like, oh, this needs to change. That's great, but how is it gonna change?
I hate to tell you guys, going fuck you Bungie does not help anyone. No. Like, you're not doing anything. There's no constructiveness coming out of that. Like, you're just making things worse. And actually, so like, yeah, I agree with that. Be constructive with it and be patient. Like, I can't, you know, the game can't be changed. You know, it's a lot easier said than done, I guess. And I agree. I expect more from this game, and especially now that they've made promises and we have actual dates. I will be holding Bungie to an entirely new standard. But, you know, we have to give them time to deliver on those promises. And I have no doubt in my mind that they will. And that's pretty much where I think I want to end the episode, on that note. You got anything else to add to anything that we said today, Jay-Z?
No, I think we had pretty good discussion on everything.
Boom, boom, boom! Episode 50 is coming up, man. I feel old. Is that normal?
I know, right? Well... wait till you're my age, man.
wait till you're twice your age, son.
Back in my day,
we had a joystick. Yeah, if you guys really want to be angry at something, be mad that back in Jay-Z's day, first off, video games were, when you were a kid, like when you were born, was the
Atari.
Was it? So it was already launched like when you were born?
Well, like when I was young child. Like,
okay,
my first console was the Atari 7800.
Okay, so just think, guys, when JC was a kid, if there was a bug in the game, they couldn't fix it. It was in there.
It was always in there. 100%.
It was boned. You know, there's games that you can still go back and play bugged versions of and stuff. Like, yeah, we're lucky to be where we are at today. Once again, that's not being like, so be thankful for everything. We should expect more, and especially now that they made promises and stuff. But it really helps to put things into perspective. Like, in a very short amount of time, comparatively to the history of the human race, Video games have gone like
Oh wow, yeah.
0 to 100, you know.
Plus,
So,
like most Atari games were a single a single person working on the game, or like just a small team. Like
with no save feature.
yeah,
That must have been hell.
yeah. So I mean,
I remember playing the original Castlevania on the NES where there was no save feature. Like,
yeah.
how do people do that? You have to start every time you turn on the thing. If there's a power failure, guess what? You just wasted 20 hours of your life. Good luck. Like, goodness gracious.
And then like the original Zelda being the first like game that you could save with a battery inside of it, like that was insane.
Good old days. But yeah, so development cycles, they take a while. Think about stuff before you say them, and just enjoy the game, I guess. I mean, don't force yourself to enjoy the game, obviously, but
well, I mean, and you got to remember, if you don't like it, play something else, and you can always come back to it. Like
yeah, exactly. Just because you don't like something currently, you know, some people. Like, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite. I am adding that to my channel. I've been playing so much of it. But it's like, you're allowed to play other games. You know, games are going to have ups and downs, especially in a game like Destiny with a development cycle that's year-round. You know, there's going to be high points and low points because things take time to develop. It's fine if you take a break, but the thing that you should not stop doing is giving feedback. But at the same point, you should start giving more constructive feedback, I guess, is what... I'm not saying that everyone here is one of those people. I'm just saying if you are, maybe you should reevaluate a little bit. But, yep, that's pretty much where I'm going to end that. Yeah, man. Yeah. That's episode 38. Thank you each and every one of you for coming out, sharing your opinions, thoughts, and you're chatting on screen with us. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm glad no one's coming here and just taking advantage of that system. Yeah, it's working out really well. I like watching back. Like, I personally watch these back when I'm bored and stuff, and it looks really nice. It works really well, so I'm glad I'm implementing that. Jay-Z, thank you as always for coming out and joining me, man.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me.
You know, we're coming up on your year anniversary too. Jeez.
Yeah, coming up.
I'll have to give myself a birthday cake and then pretend it's for you.
Okay. That'd be too many candles for me. So.
We're 86, 87. one for each episode. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, all right, guys. So that's where I'm going to end it. Thank you, each and every one of you, once again. I appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you next week.
Peace.